Next, I would like to invite someone whose personal experience I know will speak to all of you as we collectively advocate for a better and safer way to end homelessness in our community. Jerrick, thank you for coming. Come on up, and can you please share some of your experience with our audience today? Here he is. You're smart to bring your water.
Well, Chad and Greg kind of know I've been going through a little bit of cold issues, so he was like, make sure you bring that water up there with you if you need to. So excuse me if I sound a little hoarse or whatever. But hello, everyone. My name is Jerrick, and I have been living in DuPagePads permanent supportive housing since June 17th this year. I first want to tell you about how both challenging and wonderful this life has been for me. Secondly, the journey of going through DuPagePads and how it has affected my life. Lastly, how these two essences have and are bringing me closer to the things that I truly missed as a human being. So most of you must know about permanent supportive housing, which means that you know I struggle with chronic homelessness, and I'm also a mental illness. I'm disabled, I have a disability. I was as homeless as anyone else could be, some with addictions, evictions, and just systemic issues, period. However, my journey into homelessness was a little bit different. First, a bit about myself. I was born in Aurora, Illinois. I graduated from East Aurora High School. I was prom king, commencement speaker. I was MC for morning announcements. They call me Jammin' Jay. And was considered pretty popular, but very humble, from the lowest to the highest. I loved everyone in my high school. I left public school and I traveled for about 2 years, from the second half of my freshman year and all of my sophomore year. I traveled around with a performing arts troupe called Moi. It was messages which are hype, hopeful, and hard to forget. And was I homeschooled through Crossroads, Christian Crossroads. It's a homeschool organization in Big Rock, Illinois. I was a dance instructor, a police explorer, and eventually moved into working a third shift job as a machine operator while going to Wabanzi Community College for about 2 years. During those years, I was vice president of the student senate there, and I had a wonderful experience. Eventually, I went to UIC of Chicago and did more great things as a resident assistant. And double majored in business and pre-law poli-sci, political science, with a minor in history. As a young African-American man, I always knew that I had to do something a bit unconventional to get out of the system our community is all too familiar with: drugs, gangbanging, jail, death, institutions. So I pulled out my mother's typewriter and I began to learn to type and become a professional. My hope was this would end somewhere like being a lawyer, a judge, or some kind of advocate for our community. I pushed myself hard, and over time I went from working third shift as a machine operator, going to school and teaching dance, to getting my first professional job working for Lucid Technologies as a data analyst for project managers building databases. Eventually, as Lucid merged and faded away, I received an awesome job working with the vice president of Ameritech Cellular through the SBC Ameritech merger as temporary manager of federal licensing, working directly with the FCC. Eventually, they moved that job out of the state, so I moved on to a job as an administrative assistant to the vice president of retail training and development for National Security Bank for the Michigan and Illinois team. I traveled quite a bit. I had a wonderful mentor and was very blessed. Then just before 9/11, moved briefly to New York. I even went into the World Trade Centers. This was the year the World Trade Centers went down. After that tragedy, I decided to move on. New York just wasn't for me. So I got ready to come back home, taking my skill set and started applying for jobs in Chicago. I prayed to God that if he would get me there, I would do well by him for the rest of my life. And I was very blessed. And I was hired personally by the CEO and the owner of Health Alliance, working on the 44th floor of the John Hancock. I was at the top of my game as an executive assistant / office manager for a very successful and blessed Caucasian man, multimillionaire. And surrounded by these men, very successful men, and they've treated me very well, CEOs, presidents, vice presidents. I worked with consultants and government officials to help secure contracts for our healthcare company. One day, Mark handed me a check for $2,000, and he said, "I want you here at all times." And at that time, I was living in Naperville, Fox Valley area near Waubonsee High School on Eola Road, so I was traveling back and forth to Chicago downtown. With the money I was now making, I was able to move into a high-rise downtown Chicago in River East in front of Lake Michigan with a lake view, which if most of you have been downtown, it's the AMC Theater building, so I was right there on Lake Michigan. I had jets flying by my window during the air show at the age of 22. I was doing very well, and after the company decided to sell, I moved on into working for major law firms such as Sidley, Austin, Brown & Wood, McDermott, Will, and Emery. I was a document specialist, and I could pretty much do anything in the firm and work directly for partners. Well, this job entailed me working from about 2:00 p.m. to 10 p.m. So after the legal assistants went home, I kept it going for the lawyers, sometimes to midnight. This wore on me, and over time, I just could not sleep one day. And this was another day, and another day. And this was the moment mental illness hit me hard. It got so bad, my landlord had to call one of my best friends who contacted my family to come and get me. So I came back to my parents' house in Aurora, and since that day, have been struggling to manage my mental illness. I was stubborn and couldn't believe what was happening. It took me years before I even filed for unemployment, accepting I needed help. I was a part of the 99ers. If you remember back then, the economy was so bad, they had kept renewing unemployment, and I believe it ended at about 99 weeks. Through these difficult years, I was still trying to work normal jobs, and I could not stay functioning due to the sleep issues and other challenges I was facing. So I started working for myself, which worked well, but what was hard on my family, who I still lived with. It was difficult enough on my father having me at the house, and also I have a twin brother who has not fared as well so well dealing with his own challenges and was also living in their house. Things became very stressful. Not being able to assist him on lights and food, etc., it got so tense I eventually had to leave and went into homelessness, staying at Hesed House. As time went on, I successfully participated in their programs, and I got back to an apartment, but continued to have issues stemming from my mental health, family challenges, and negative interactions with law enforcement. Unfortunately, all of these problems combined caused me to lose my apartment again, this time right before COVID. I had hoped to transition back to downtown Chicago and begin working again, maybe find a little apartment, but after COVID started, they shut everything down in Chicago, and I did not have anywhere to go, nowhere to live or work, and no idea what to do next. From that point on, I began walking the streets, mostly riding my bike. I worked hard where I could work, and used the little money I had to stay in the hotel that DuPagePads had on Route 59 for almost a year. The same hotel that DuPage was using to help other people like me. I used all the money I had left. And after not have lived with my family for almost 8 years, my parents offered me to move back into their place and figure out what to do next. It went okay at first, but after being there for about a year, I had a fight with my family and became homeless once again. I moved from place to place around Aurora, and one day someone called the police and lied and said I took a poop on a sidewalk at a park that I sleep at sometimes. So I got the point, you didn't want me around. So this was an absolute lie to get rid of me, as they had a porta potty and I'm a respectable man who would not do such a thing. And so after that, I worried that the police state and who I am with my mental illness and my disability, it would just not be a good situation for me to keep staying outside in Aurora. So I was still trying to stay at a hotel on 59 whenever I would get money, and started walking and riding around the Naperville area. I finally reached out and made a call to someone. I cannot fully remember the details, but they referred me to the Downers Grove Community Kitchen. Those dinners back then and the Downers Grove Public Library pretty much saved my life. I did not trust pads or any shelter I stayed at because of how hard it was in the past. However, Rose from Congregational Church asked me to try one more time, as one of the volunteers noticed I was aging rapidly, and she didn't want me outside anymore, and not in a good way. So Rose gave me Alex's card with his contact information, and he came out to meet with me for over a few times, over months. And one day he called and he said, and I can remember, he said, I have some good news, but bad news. They did not have an apartment or anything, but there was a bid open at IHC. I took it and was there within like 30 minutes. Rose actually helped me get there. Because of people like Alex from PADS, and Andrew is a therapist here in DuPage County that I'm working with. And the judge is actually in Kane County, because that's where my parents' house is. My legal issues, he referred me to Andrew. And Andrew is a therapist working with me as I'm working through the process of this trial. And then Taylor, who is from housing, she is very awesome. She and Andrew kind of work together, and Sydney, and of course John, they helped me move in, and other wonderful staff at DuPagePads who were rooting for me. I received the chance for hope, and I'm finally housed again in the apartment I've had since June 17, 2025. So these people, along with the IHC staff, John, all of you guys back there, they did such a wonderful job. I'm a learner, so I like to learn. I know this is kind of not on the script. Chad's gonna be like, you gotta keep moving on. But I have so many certificates, and it made me feel so good to go back and work. I have a Microsoft specialist from People's Resource Center, and of course, from our TIP graduation, they gave me a certificate. Yes, TIP was wonderful. You know, I've been through a lot through my life, just off script real quick, a lot through my life, but TIP really opened up a lot for me. It got rid of a lot of baggage. So thank you, Letitia, and all of you for that. So again, these people, along with the IHC staff, they just really helped me. And Shavanya, who was my original caseworker, oh, by the way, I'll put this in here, Wheaton Trust. they started coming to the empowerment center that they have, and I am now with Bob at Wheaton Trust, and I started a CD, and I have my credit up to like 720. So thank you, Wheaton Trust. Amazing job. And Shavanya, who was my original caseworker when I received the apartment. And of course, Joe, my current caseworker. Together, you all, but especially Joe. Joe made me feel human again. He sent me a card. Most of your names were on the card. And I still have the card on my desk today, once I finally get the apartment together, right, Joe? I look forward to seeing him checking up on me. He simply listened. And because of that kindness, I am here speaking to you all today, relaying to you, human to human, how important these individuals have been. I am a human being struggling with a mental illness/disability, but that is my part of being human. Now that I have a home again, I can work a little now on the side. I can also take a shower. I could sleep in safety and security and continue the course of my life facing this disability, and more importantly, do it while still feeling and being a human being. Someday, when I get to sit in your chair, and if I was there right now, you just don't know how much I would give. DuPage showed me just how they can be trusted, and they will take your contributions to change more lives like mine and so many of my friends whom I have fellowshipped with, and I still do to this day at those dinners. On the streets, I was forced to have trigger finger. I used to carry bags on my bike so much that my thumb got stuck, so I had to have trigger finger. And it was 0 below outside. It was so cold outside at points, I thought that my toes would never come back from being frozen. My, what an impact you all have and can make for someone else, even people and families less fortunate than me. You did this for me, and there are many out there in worse situations. I know you can do it for them. So in the beginning, I mentioned the last thing I wanted to mention to you was how my life and going through pads continue bringing me closer to the things that I truly missed as a human being. That, my friends, are you. I am 46 years old, and at every sector of my life, there have been very blessed individuals like you who gave me the best blessing by seeing the human being in me, that I too could one day be just like you. Seeing something in a stranger like me, allowing them to see themselves, again, is a great blessing. And right there, before your eyes, you have helped them. Trust me, they will never forget it, because I have not forgotten all of those who did it for me. I missed this the most. And because of people like you, I have it again today. So peace, and may God bless you all. Thank you.
Hi, Maureen.